lick the stamp and send it. He's back, and it's race week.
It is. We hope you are hungry for a new podcast episode.
Why? Just why? we had a good start there. With, did we ever think we would say that again? That Danny Rick is back in a Formula One car this soon, anyway?
Not at all.
And you just had to throw the puns in there, didn't you?
Of course, I love a good pun. Puns are the best. Puns are absolutely amazing. But yes, welcome back to this week's episode of the 107 podcast. Let's whet your appetite with some good news coming out of F1 this week, which is, of course, Danny Rick coming back to the team, which he left in order to get a better seat, which then he ended up coming back to anyway. Just a nice full circle, I guess. Hopefully he went to
Red Bull, didn't he?
Exactly. So he left the seat that he's currently in to try and get a better seat, and he ended up back where he started.
Wouldn't that mean he left Red Bull to try and get a better seat, didn't he?
No, he left AlphaTauri to go to Red Bull.
Yeah, but not for a... Dude, I'm not well. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Danny Rick is back, and that's the only thing that's keeping me going, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, so, Danny Rick is back.
How happy are you going to be when he finishes P18?
I'm just going to be as neutral as I was before.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot is going to be expected of him.
Yeah.
I think people are going to come in and expect him to get points on his debut, blow Yuki out the water. But I think he's going to have, the term is ring rust.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's see what he does. If he gets points on his debut, I will put a meme on the 107 Podcast Instagram page of Lord Voldemort saying, "From now on, you put your faith in me."
We should do the other one where it's like Harry Potter, like, he's back. Voldemort's back.
It'll be Yuki as Harry.
It should be Christian, actually. It should be Christian instead.
Yeah. No, he's not going to finish P18. I think if he gets points on his debut, that's really good.
Yeah.
And I'm actually more excited for Yuki.
Yeah.
I think he's really grown over the past season and a bit. And I think he now has an opportunity to show Red Bull or Aston Martin Honda that he is possibly the guy for the big job.
Yeah, I think that it is an opportunity. Do you remember at the beginning of the season when I said that Yuki has to say to Nick, "This is my swamp," and beat him? Well, he's done that. He needs to defend his swamp again, essentially. He needs to go out there and absolutely smash it.
Do you remember at the start of the season when I said Nick would outscore Yuki?
I'm never going to let you forget that. That was wild. What a wild take.
I mean, it was based in some sort of logic.
There was some sort of logic, but again, I really feel like Yuki is a lot better than people give him credit for.
Yes, but I also think he did have the benefit of a full season under his belt as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Massively. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Danny could get it the points. We're looking at maybe a P9 and a P10. It is Hungary. A lot can happen. He's won there, but I'm excited he's back, but I'm not going to be like, he's going to be amazing straight away. It will probably take him a couple of races just to get back into the groove of things.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, so we have this race, and then we have the Belgian Grand Prix race, and then there is the 3-week summer break. So I'm imagining that Daniel would need to / be expected to beat Yuki either in the Netherlands or in Italy. So the 2 race weeks after the summer break, he should beat him in at least one of those.
Yeah. Do you think that, let's just say, dreams do come true.
Yeah.
And Danny Rick smashes it for the rest of the season. No disrespect to Yuki.
Yep.
Do you think that they will still keep Checo because he has a contract for next season? Or do you think they'll do that demotion idea that you mentioned in the last podcast?
I don't know. I think the thing is
maybe it's not even in his contract. Maybe Checo says you can't put me in the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, it might be in his contract, but I'm not entirely sure whether or not it actually will be. I think that essentially the thing with him will be that I don't think that's like a really obvious thing that they would put in his contract, if that makes sense. So I actually don't know whether or not like that would even be like in a contract. So they probably could shift him out to the other team, you know. Sorry if I'm a tiny bit distracted. I'm having some technical difficulties. The recording is lagging very slightly for video, so I do apologize for that. But so yeah, I think that it's a possibility, but we have to wait and see how Danny does. At the end of the day, Danny could come back and he could be absolute arse. So who knows? It might partly be because the AlphaTauri is not that good. It might just be because Daniel Ricciardo is not that good. Who knows? But either way, I think it's great to see him come back for sure. The one thing which I think that not everyone, but most people seem to be overlooking, and I think we're very slightly guilty of that as well, especially with the memes and stuff that we've been putting out on Instagram, is that we are forgetting that like it must be gut wrenching for Nick as well.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Was, how do you think Nick is feeling about this? And would you, as a team principal or Helmut or even Christian, giving Nick more time?
I think that the problem is that they'd already made their decision, right? They had already made the decision that he was going to go. Like it's that the plan is that they were going to swap the drivers during the summer break, but they decided to do it early. I think the early sort of hurriedness didn't help, but at the end of the day, Nick wasn't fast enough, and it goes back to the age-old saying of the stopwatch doesn't lie.
But do you think that because he didn't have the full backing of everyone at Red Bull, because remember Christian didn't want him at AlphaTauri, that maybe that sped up the decision and maybe he wasn't given enough of a chance because
potentially
he's not performing. While Helmut wanted him in, Christian's like, nah, I don't think we made the right decision here, and maybe we should cut our losses while we can.
Yeah, potentially. But at the same time, he's a 28-year-old man who is a multiple world champion in different disciplines. So he should know realistically what to do. He scored points for Aston Martin last year. Williams, last year. He's not a complete stranger, and he should know how to conduct himself, and he should know what is expected of him. So I think it probably would have come as a surprise that it happened earlier, but I also know that he was given warning, like, you need to start picking up the pace, because you're not quick enough. And again, the stopwatch doesn't lie.
Yeah, it's a brutal world.
The world of F1 is absolutely brutal. And
if Danny Rick can lose a seat, anyone can lose a seat.
Well, you say if Danny Rick can lose a seat, he was toilet for like 2 years in a McLaren besides 2 or 3 performances. So, I mean, it's not even that. It literally is the stopwatch doesn't lie. That's it.
But I think part of Danny being there longer was he is quite marketable.
Yeah, he's very marketable. Yeah,
and he probably it's quite expensive to get rid of him to the point where they did have to pay him.
They literally had to pay him not to drive the shitbox McLaren, which then has now turned out to not be a shitbox and it's a bit of a rocket. Well, based on last week anyway, last race. I did see like a funny image which was like POV you are Hamilton, a car is faster, that car must be a rocket. My car is faster, oh it's the driver. It's just funny. But yeah, so I think we're both looking forward to seeing Danny Rick back, but again, not that he's died, but my thoughts are definitely with Nick over the next race weekend, because it must be strange.
It's a brutal world. Like I said, we were guilty with a couple of memes, but I would say that our memes are nice, right? We never try and attack anyone personally or anything like that.
No, but not at all.
Obviously, in a moment like that, if in our career we lost our jobs and then someone started making memes about it,
it's not the nicest thing.
You wouldn't feel good.
Not to say, oh, it's okay, but some of the stuff I saw was horrific. Some of the bits and pieces and the things I've seen said about certain drivers, not only not only Nick this week, but just other times, is horrific. And trust me, nothing we have said I wouldn't repeat to anyone else or anything like that. We're trying to make light of most of these situations. Unfortunately, there is one situation we can't make light of. And obviously sorry, I did cut you off slightly. I guess you didn't know I was going to segue into that topic. So I'll unsegue. Did you want to add something?
I was just going to say we're pretty good at calling each other out when it's like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
That's not funny kind of thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I also, just quickly while we're on this topic, I also don't like this current, and it's not just Formula One, it's media in general. There's obviously clickbait and stuff, but there's kind of selling outrage. Like I've seen a few, I'm not going to name people, but some people who do watch a lot of F1 content will know. There are some people on YouTube who think by really aggressively being insulting and attacking and outrageous and dramatic to people in F1 drivers, etc., is like their niche and their way of going in. And like, not everyone is nice and the world is not a nice place, but you're just adding to it where there's a difference between saying, oh, George Russell looks a bit like Woody from Toy Story, which is a bit light and funny, to some of the things I've heard say about him. And, it's like, it's not nice.
No, not at all. I think that some people will use those sorts of things in a way to like grow their platform and stuff like that. And that's something that we, neither of us want to do. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, I'll try a different segue in terms of saying horrible things. Obviously, there was some report, I guess, from Lewis directly around some racist comments made about Lewis Hamilton, and sort of hearing about that from Seb. And it's obviously absolutely horrific, and there's no place for it in any way, shape, or form. And it doesn't surprise me, which is awful, really. And I'm guessing it probably doesn't surprise you either.
No, and it's strange because it's like, what does he have to do to just be respected?
I know.
Right? He's one of the best drivers ever. He's the most successful driver ever in terms of race wins.
Yeah.
He's equal on, world champion. And like, I know what people say, the car isn't the best car. Valtteri is not the quickest. You don't win a championship by luck.
No, true.
And he earned his position, and he's done so much outside of the sport. I mean, he has more followers than the Formula One account, which shows he is bigger than the sport. He does a lot for the LGBT community, for eradicating racism in the sport. He's got Mission 44, and yet still within the sport, from teams saying racist things about him, it's just like what do I have to do?
I mean, well, didn't you say, I don't know whether or not you said it on the podcast or not, but didn't you say at one point that when Lewis was first a driver at McLaren, that somebody had to go into the mechanics, engineers, whoever, some members of staff, and say, you can't make the same jokes that you used to make?
I don't think it was me. I think it might have been you.
No, I'm pretty sure it was you.
Okay.
I can't remember. But essentially, I think that the part of the problem is, I mean, that is horrific, but it wouldn't surprise me if it were to still happen in certain areas.
Old boys club around Formula One.
Yeah, absolutely. You see bits and pieces of it, but also at the same time, and again, this is in no way in pointing fingers and saying absolutely this is what happened or anything like that. But my thought process is, Seb used to drive for Ferrari, a very, very Italian team, and stereotypically, quite a lot of Italians don't have particularly nice things to say about people that aren't white/tanned like Italian people. So I can sort of read between the lines as to where those comments may have potentially come from, allegedly come from. That's all I was going to say, which may potentially be one of the reasons why Lewis hasn't gone to Ferrari, hasn't entertained Ferrari. You never know. Again, I'm potentially linking things that don't need to be linked or have no link, but that's just my thought process around that, essentially. I mean, again, it could have been absolutely nothing at Ferrari, and then you could have gone to Aston Martin, and they could have been the worst people on earth. You don't know. You have no idea. But putting one and one together, it might be that.
I wouldn't even. I think it's coming from, and we've seen it, the likes of this older generation, people like Nelson Piquet. You saw the comments he made. A lot of those people are still around behind the scenes in teams as ambassadors and all that. I reckon that's where Seb kind of may have heard it.
Yeah, I mean, think about it as well. Helmut Marko isn't exactly the most politically correct person in the world, is he? Let's be completely honest, right?
He is the straightest shooter.
Like, my God.
He's telling you.
But yeah, I think that some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is absolutely insane. But I think that this is the thing. It's not surprising, which is a real shame. And hopefully it's something that we hear about and see less and less and less.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, like, Lewis Hamilton walked so a future black driver could run. It might be one of those things where he has to kind of take it a little bit, which is wrong, but he has to take it so he can set the platform. I mean, do you think, do you think if Lewis Hamilton wasn't in F1, that the Apex Apple movie would have a black actor?
Oh, absolutely not. No. Like more than likely not. No. But I think that if you were to sit Lewis down and ask him the question and say, if you would take this like red pill, blue pill, you were to receive hate and stuff like that and incredibly horrific racist remarks, etc., but you know for a fact that it will encourage and increase the likelihood of another driver who isn't a straight white man into a Formula One seat in the next 10 years, would you take that or not? He would absolutely take that 100%. So let's be honest, he's doing the right thing. He's standing up for the things that he believes in, and he's going about it in the best way possible.
Yeah, no, it's a journey, I think, and like sometimes you can just step back and look at the bigger picture and see we are progressing, but then when you just dive in, sometimes it's one step forward, two steps back. But hopefully we just keep moving in the right direction, and we publicize and talk about when these things happen. Good on Seb and good on articles being written about it.
Yeah, exactly. I think we need more people within F1 like Seb, 100%. Not only just in terms of drivers, but also in terms of people around the paddock. But yeah, like I said, Lewis is doing pretty much everything right. Only thing I would argue is apparently his vegan burgers are very expensive.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, yeah.
Isn't vegan food expensive in general?
Yeah, there's something. It's like vegan tax, essentially, is what it's jokingly called. So yeah, but yeah. Speaking of tax is obviously a massive part of business, and guess who is joining a London business school? The segues on this podcast are getting better and better each week. But
whoa, because what. I don't know what name I know what name you're going to say, but I don't know how you're going to refer to him. Because after we've just had a little kind of open heart moment about Nick De Vries, you better refer to him by his proper name.
Goat Tiffy.
I knew you would say that.
I say Goat Tiffy lovingly. That's how I'm saying it. But yeah, obviously, if you live under a rock potentially, or you haven't heard for some other reason, Nicholas Latifi,
you just don't go on Twitter.
Our favourite Canadian driver, he says, literally while wearing Lance Stroll merchandise. Well, I'm not kidding. This is a Lance Stroll. Where is it? Yeah, Lance Stroll jacket that I have on. I'm that big of a fan of Lance.
I have a Lance Stroll t-shirt.
Was that the free one that you got if you ordered something from the Aston Martin store?
No, so the cap is free.
Yeah, the cap was free.
Wait. The t-shirt is completely black, so you
can't see it. Yeah, brilliant.
You can't see it unless you're super close. But it's actually a really nice t-shirt.
Yeah, I have a white Sebastian Vettel Aston Martin t-shirt as well. It's lovely. But yeah, so Nicholas Latifi has sort of broken his silence from I guess being pretty much silent since Abu Dhabi last year before. and sort of just said, like, he's thinking of taking a break from racing. He's signed up to do his bachelor's degree, I believe it was, but doing a degree, and we'll be doing that in the London Business School where my sister goes. So nice little link there. But she's graduating, so they won't be going at the same time, which is frustrating because that could have been my in with Nick. But yeah,
with
so.
Nick? Oh yeah, with Nick. Sorry, I thought you were about Nick de Vries.
Unbelievable.
Because you didn't call him Go Tiffy.
Go
so
Tiffy.
he's not talking about the Tiffy.
But so yeah. I was just really happy to hear from him and hear that he's trying to look forward after racing as well, which is quite nice too. Let's be honest, the guy never really did anything wrong. He got a lot of like death threats and stuff like this. Is a very heavy podcast episode this week, by the way.
It is,
but he got death threats and everything. Like, it was absolutely horrific, and he didn't deserve not even a smidge. Nope. He deserves 0% of any of the hate that he got. So I'm really glad to hear that he's had the time to reset and stuff like that, and that he's looking forward. But at the same time, I would really, really like to see him race again. It would be really nice if he was, part of like a Le Mans 24-hour team or something like that in the future.
Yeah, we could still see that.
I think he'll come back at some point.
He's trying new things, and I think it's a good thing he's talking about it, because he's in a position of privilege and wealth. He's raced Formula One cars, and he said, look, even I'm going back to school to study and learn. So hopefully other people can see that's like if Latifi's doing it, then anyone can do it at any age, despite their background or where they've come from.
True. Absolutely.
So good on him.
Even if you're a billionaire. So Latifi, if you're listening to this, good job.
Maybe he's going to the London Business School to help some of these teams get round the cost cap.
Yeah, maybe.
We are segueing like superstars.
Oh, damn right. Please carry on with your segue.
Yes. So if you remember, and if the single-digit viewers remember, we talked about this on a podcast when Otmar mentioned that certain teams, namely the bigger ones, Red Bull, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Mercedes, were using essentially loopholes to create separate companies where they would be working on hypercars, supercars, technologies, as a way to get around the cost cap of, hey, we can't afford this lead aerodynamicist on, let's just say he's on 500 grand a year. But if we move him to work on Mercedes' AMG Project One car, then he's off the books, but we can maybe use him as a consultant or give him some extra work on the side that doesn't count towards our accounting figures and therefore does not come into the cost cap, because the general consensus is the big teams are still spending the amount of money that they were spending pre the cost cap, and they were using loopholes and clever ways to get around it.
That's the allegation,
Well, the FIA are doing an audit, which they expect to be completed by the end of July, and the results come out next month. So we shall see what's come of it.
Yeah, probably during the Dutch race weekend, I'd imagine, before that.
Or the break, or maybe even the break.
Yeah.
Because we will need something to talk about in the summer break.
Yeah, true. But wouldn't it be funny if they were penalised? Mercedes were penalised.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was Haas was the one was breaching?
Oh, mate, they spend nowhere near the budget cap. Honestly, you leave my boys alone. You leave my beloved Haas alone.
What do you mean you're playing Nico Hulkenberg £100 million to be the driver and the lead aerodynamicist and the chief engineer?
Cost cap era.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what comes of it. There must be something there, right? There's no smoke without fire. They've done an audit for a reason.
You say that, but there was a report that came out earlier on this week that apparently 3 teams had breached the budget cap this year, allegedly. And then it came out like it spread like wildfire. We even made a meme about it. And then the first sort of red flag was Terry popped up and was like, this is absolutely not true. And then literally 12 hours later, it was confirmed as not being true. And apparently it was Domenicali, I think, who was quoted. And obviously he just never even said that. So I think that it's good. But the audits itself are obviously a different thing.
They probably confuse the audits with the cost cap.
Probably something like that, yeah. But the teams that are under the microscope are Red Bull and Aston Martin in terms of those audits, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
I don't know about Mercedes. Maybe Mercedes is the third one, but I really don't know.
I mean, they did just release their F1 inspired hypercar this year, or something like that. So
who knows? But I know that my boys down at Haas, they're all good. So who cares? But yeah, so I think that it's going to be interesting to hear what comes out of those audits. Obviously during the summer break.
So let's talk about Hungary.
Yes, let's jump into Hungary.
Because there is a new qualifying format for Hungary.
There is. And it's I think it could mix things up a little bit.
I think it could as well.
I think that it will mix things up in the wrong way. So by that I mean that I feel like the teams that seem to eat through tires very quickly, i.e. Haas and Ferrari, will do better and maybe go further in from like Q1 and Q2 than they probably should do because their tire wear is that bad. But other than it's a good thing for them, but I think then that might mean that they drop back during the race. But I think either way, it's going to be exciting.
If it mixes up the grid, even slightly, it's good. And doing it at Hungary, where it's kind of difficult to overtake, and like I said, there can be different winners, it could help. But if you don't know what the new qualifying format is, teams are only allowed to use one type of tire per session. So Q1 will be the hard tire, Q2 will be the medium tire, and Q3 will be the soft tire.
Yeah.
So there is actually, I think, going to be a few losers out of this in terms of you set a time in Q1 on the hard tire, all of a sudden the track is evolving. You can now not jump onto a softer tire to need to put a banker lap in because you can only stick with the hard tire.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. In all honesty, I feel like this is how quali should be run anyway.
I think it should be like that.
Like in all honesty, because it uses up less tires as well.
If it weren't for the fact that the track evolves throughout the session, I would be all for one-shot quali.
Yeah.
But, this is why maybe you do a reverse one-shot quali. So if you put it on pole in Silverstone, so let's say Max then has to be the first person out to do a lap in Q3.
Yeah, I think that, in all honesty, I feel like the teams would be more up for it if they had the opportunity to do a warm-up lap as well. First.
Yeah, no.
So they do that out lap, do a warm-up lap.
You have to do it out lap.
And then do your proper timed lap. I feel like... Or given the opportunity to, at the very least.
No, I'm going to disagree. Out lap, one shot, one lap, that's it. Nothing. I don't want you testing or warming up tires even more on a warm-up lap. So, I would do that. I'd say, right, Max, you put on pole in Silverstone. You're the first person to do a run in Hungary. The track's not at its greenest. So there's a chance that you could be at the back of the grid.
Or there's the Formula E qualifying format. Which is very cool. So essentially, they draw names from a hat, essentially for let's say 20 drivers, and they pair two drivers together. And the fastest one moves through to the next round. So then you would only have 10 drivers, and then those 10 drivers all go up against each other. And then I think the last 5 would go through, and then of that last 5, it's the quickest person. They all get one more lap. But then obviously the ones that were beaten in the first, that's obviously like their times are slotted in as well. So I just think it's fun because it would randomize track evolution as well. And it would also be very fun if it was like drawn like an hour before quali was supposed to start. So an hour before, you have like almost like you do on like the FA Cup, where they have like the like ball numbers in a big ball, and then some random
Jackie Stewart just pulling it out.
Yeah, Jackie Stewart pulls the balls out of the bucket and picks the quali lineup. Yeah. I think it'd be a really cool thing to do. Or they could even do it like at the end of like the third practice session, so that people would have a reason to tune in for the third practice session as well. So could boost numbers there. A couple more sponsors, Liberty Media, you're welcome. But that could be something fun to do as well. And I think
I'm glad they're trying to mix up quali.
I think it's good they're trying to mix it up. Definitely.
Cool.
Arguably. More fun than a fucking sprint weekend. Arguably.
I just think they're using the sprint format wrong.
Oh, they're 100% doing the sprint format wrong, but and I don't know if you heard, but Dominicali is apparently looking into an award for a Grand Slam award.
Oh, that's good.
So essentially, if you are P1 in the sprint quali, P1 in the racing quali, and you finish both the quali and the normal race first, so you get finish P1 all race weekend, you get a Grand Slam award. Go for it. Go nuts, because Max will have 10 by the end of the year.
Yeah, just call it the Max Verstappen
The Max Verstappen award, yeah.
He can just line them up on his podcast.
Honestly, yeah, why not? Get us on. Why not? Honestly, what would be really, really funny is if he launched a podcast once he'd finished Formula One called the Max Verstappen Experience, or like the podium
and
with Max Verstappen.
It should be the cool down room, right?
Yeah, the cool down room. Yeah, or like
he wears the P1 hat, and like you'll have two gears P2, P3.
Oh, that would be brilliant. That would be so good.
That's good.
But yeah, other bits and pieces you're looking forward to this weekend around the Grand Prix before I give a little weather update.
I'm not looking forward to it, but in Formula One's journey to expand its audience, they're having a kids broadcast.
Yes, there is a kids broadcast, each character, each driver will have an animated character. Like counterpart, which is cool. So I wonder how much work they've had to do to quickly rush and make a Daniel Ricciardo character and get rid of the Nick de Vries.
I don't know. I mean, you can quickly make a memoji of yourself on a phone.
True, they do look very memoji-esque. So let's see.
So that'll be interesting to see if that brings in a younger audience. They're going to have explanations and colourful graphics and good stuff like that. So. Yeah, they're trying lots of new things, which I like. I just hope they don't try too many and just lose the essence of the sport. But if they're bringing younger fans in, that is really good. But yeah, do you want to go into the weather update before we kind of preview?
So, excitingly, there is no exciting weather happening by the looks of things. So Sunday, apparently it's going to be 31 degrees with a 0% chance of rain during the race. And there will be a slight wind, like the tiniest wind.
See, for the last few episodes, you were like, mixed conditions, Hungary, surprise race winner.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be who's going to come in P2.
Yeah.
Because Red Bull are bringing updates.
The Red Bull have the opportunity to do the funniest thing in the world and bring a zero side pod design. They have the biggest opportunity.
I think they're going waterfall, aren't they? I haven't seen any pictures yet.
I have no idea. I don't think anyone has seen any photos other than Red Bull themselves, obviously. But we will find out Friday morning.
The rumor is that they're going waterfall design.
Yes, which is reminiscent of which other car?
Their B-Spec car, the Aston Martin.
Yeah, their B-Spec car.
So that'll be interesting. I'm sure. Do you know what? That's next season testing. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah.
Look, I mean, Hungary is always an exciting race. It's technical. You can overtake there now with DRS.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be an exciting race. And I think it will be Max winning, but I think we could get a few surprise people up there in positions.
Yeah, let's be honest. Max is probably going to win, but I really, really do hope that we see my prediction come true and we get a different winner in Hungary. And I say that for a couple of reasons. One of those
by different,
being,
do you mean not Max or by first time?
just
ever race
not
winner?
Max. That is my one thing. Just not Max or Checo. I'd prefer it if it was somebody other than a Red Bull driver. And I did predict a brand new Grand Prix winner before, so somebody who has never won a Grand Prix before ever. That was my hope. But obviously that was when I was hoping for a little bit of dodgy weather. And it's annoying because there's apparently a thunderstorm on Friday, which is 2 days too early.
But who knows? The new qualifying could mix up the grid. And
new qualifying could mix things up. Let's be honest, Red Bull have not had a technical DNF so far this season, so that could potentially come into play as well. But it's absolutely insane that we're trying to come up with any sort of some rubbish luck that then Red Bull don't go ahead and win it. But I really do hope for an exciting race weekend. I think it will be an exciting race weekend regardless of who actually wins the race, but a new winner would make things very, very cool. Aston Martins are set to be quite strong at this track because of the way the track's set up. So I also think that last race's result of McLaren P2 and P4 will probably not happen again, but I'd imagine they would be further up. So I would imagine not further up as in race winners. I mean, I hope so, but I meant further up as in they won't be finishing just inside the points. I'd imagine maybe P4 through to P7 would be where I'd expect both drivers to be. But with Fernando sort of pushing back up from last week. Lance probably outside the points anyway, but Fernando himself, I'd imagine probably somewhere further up. I'm not too sure about the Mercedes. Where do you think they'll come in terms of performance?
Fernando usually does well at Hungary.
Yeah,
as well,
it was his first race win, wasn't it?
His first race win. He's put it on pole when I think he was in a Renault.
Yep.
Lewis does really well at this track, so I wouldn't count him out.
Exactly.
I think in an opposite term, and George put it on pole last year.
He did, yes.
So I think Mercedes could do well.
Potentially,
I'm kind of worried for the Williams.
Yeah, I think
they may go a bit backwards, considering they're more of a high speed.
You say that, but they scored their first points in 2 years. 2 years ago at that track.
Yeah, but what was the weather conditions? That was that Ocon won.
I know, but you get my point, right?
Yeah, if it was mixed up.
There's the potential.
There's the potential. So I think the biggest surprise of the season is if we see Checo in Q3.
Wow. Yeah, at this rate, that's just
he's got to. I mean, I think the Danny Rick replacing Nick is also a little bit of a Checo look. We will make changes.
We can get rid of drivers. Yeah, you've seen it happen before.
Yeah, and Danny's going to be he knows, right? Checo is not performing. I've got just over half a season to show I should be in that Red Bull seat. So Checo, I love you as well. Let's pull those socks up and show them what you're capable of.
Yes, exactly. Is there anything else you want to cover about the race weekend? Because I don't really have any other. I've got no other notes.
No, that's it. It's been. I mean, the Danny Rick news has just been the one that's just been flying everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just looking forward to a race.
Yeah, I think one thing that I would like to say as well is that we are starting to enter silly season, obviously with Daniel Ricciardo coming in, and there being rumours about Lando Norris having a pre-contract agreement with Ferrari, which is mad. There are so many rumours going around, and I would urge people who are listening, who have bothered to listen 38 minutes and 42 seconds through, I would urge them to have a think about any rumours that they do hear, because quite a lot of them will be absolute rubbish. Apparently Albon had a pre-contract agreement with Ferrari as well, or something like that. There's so many random bits and pieces going around which more than likely are not true in any way, shape or form.
Silly season. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted, but they have pictures of the Red Bull side pods.
Oh, pictures have come out. Oh god.
Yes, pictures have come out. And you're not too far off with your zero side pod comment.
Am I really?
They
are.
God. The term that's being thrown around is mailbox side pods.
Can you drop it in the Google Docs?
I can indeed.
So that I can potentially show our viewers what we're looking at. Okay, because I obviously wasn't expecting
basically
anything.
The term is they've taken the 2022 Merc side box and turned it 90 degrees.
Hold on a minute. Viewers, I'm having to zoom in with my actual eyes. I can't see anything there.
What are you looking? Look at the side pods.
Yeah.
Look how thin they are.
I mean, are they thin?
All right, let me show you. Let me show you another picture.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know what that big white camera is, by the way. They've got like a white camera.
Like a laser or a heat
I guess
sensor
maybe it's like a laser or something like that, or maybe just a camera that they're using to record any like when they rebuild the car.
Right. There you go. Now you can see
the air inlets. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Sure.
Yes.
All right.
They are now half the size, much thinner than they were.
Yeah, they're a lot thinner. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe we'll see an overheating Red Bull.
Dun, dun, dun.
Who knows? But all right. Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they perform on track. Yeah.
Yep. No. Look forward to it. Hungary. It's like a very 50-50 race. It's either incredibly boring or super exciting.
And let's hope for the good race. Yes. All right. Well, then we will end it there. Why don't you take us away, Ash?
Yes. Thank you very much for listening. Do follow us on whatever you listen on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Do follow us on our socials where we post nice memes.
Mm-hmm.
And look forward to speaking with you next week where we will go through everything Hungary, preview Belgium. Preview Belgium. And and I'm sure there'll be some more drama outside of the world of Formula One that we can talk about.
I hope we have whet your appetite for
the Hungarian
Grand
recording.
Prix.
Stop. End the podcast right now. Okay. To viewers and listeners, I apologize for this, man.
It's a good thing that I'm controlling when we record and when we don't record.
But we have to do that. You're like Gollum with the ring. You've just been corrupted with the power.
Precious. Cheers, everyone.